For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate. You know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause. Friends, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for entrusting an hour of your time, or half an hour, whatever you get of this show, to the show. And thank you doubly for telling your friends about the show. We believe that fungus can initiate a whole lot of events that are negative in your health. Okay, that's what the show is all about. I discovered this 48 years ago when I came home from the war in Vietnam. Today we're going to talk about autism and Alzheimer's, both neurological diseases. Fascinating stats. In the 1980s, your child had a 1 in 10,000 chance of being diagnosed with autism. Today, a 1 in 59 chance. What's going on? They're saying our mothers are passing autism to our children. You'll get my hypotheses today on how I think that's happening. And then, can fungus cause Alzheimer's? Once again, folks, keep your mind open as you review what I'm going to be teaching today. Dr. Greg Emerson from Brisbane, Australia, asked the question, why aren't we listening? All that, and I assure you a whole lot more on this, Know the Cause. You know, when I was a kid, how about you? When I was a kid, autism just didn't exist. These neurological diseases that we see today were almost non-existent. And yet today, folks, they're widespread. Why is that? When I began my career on TV 22 years ago or so, I remember walking into a juice shop. I'd get a carrot juice, before I'd go on the air. I used to go live out of Fort Worth, Texas. And I'd get a shot of juice, and a new book, The Brain Wellness Plan, showed up on the shelf. I'm a guy who goes to the back of the book in the index here, and if I don't see mycotoxins, if I don't see yeast, if I don't see, a link between what they're talking about, brain wellness and yeast, it's of no value to me. Well, I did. Here's Dr. Lombard. He is a assistant clinical professor of neurology at a big university. This is an amazing, amazing book. And in this book, he says, currently there are no studies exploring the effects of nystatin. Nystatin is an antifungal drug that goes to the belly in autism. However, many researchers, including this author, Dr. Lombard, have reported beneficial effects of antifungal therapy in children with autism, including decreased hyperactivity, better eye contact, better bowel habits, and then he went on and on, talked about the dose and so forth. Now, this is a 22-year-old book. I'm sure it's not even in print anymore, but that impacted me. Because back then I was working with doctors, I was seeing clinically these different kind of symptoms in young children, okay? Let's talk about, a little bit technical, go with me. I'll do this in 2 segments, just please hear what I'm saying. There's a technical new research paper out that talks about L forms, right? Cell wall deficient bacteria and fungus. I'll explain it all as we go along. How common is autism? In the 1980s, that's what I said, 1 in 10,000 children had it. 1990s, 1 in 2,500. 1999, 1 in 1,000. 2012, 1 in 88. A couple of years ago, a year ago, 2018, 1 in 59. Folks, if indeed this is a problem that can be treated with drugs, bingo. It's going to 1 in 30, 1 in 20, 1 in 2. It's like cancer. More and more people have it. They're identifying it because the drug companies are teaching doctors what to prescribe medications for, okay? Autism, this is what Scientific Reports said. Autism belongs to a group of neurodevelopmental disorders which are diagnosed mainly during early childhood, okay? Despite intense research, work concerning the pathogenesis, the cause of autism, the factors causing or influencing this state remain unclear. ... We don't know, but take this drug. ... We don't know, but take this drug. That one didn't work, try this one. What's its etiology? They say we don't know. They don't have to know. As long as we've got a prescription pad that can erase autistic symptoms for a few hours at a time. And folks, if they did it and worked toward a cure, I'd be happy. All these things do is erase symptoms for a few hours at a time. And our brightest and best, I've always felt the doctors were handcuffed. These are smart people. They're handcuffed to begin asking the mom the right questions. Okay, we'll get to that. Let's look at the new research paper. New research paper finds fragments of fungus and or bacteria in the blood of birth mothers and children, or their children, with autism. I don't even know if dysbiotic microbiota in autistic children and their mothers. Persistence of fungal and bacterial wall-deficient L-form variants in blood, okay? So the next graphic is going to better decipher that for you. 50 years ago, in 1969, scientists noticed that cell wall deficient L forms, but their role in diseases wasn't clearly understood. This was the original paper. Aberrant forms of bacteria and fungi found not in the gut, not in the tissue, but in the blood or cerebrospinal fluid. These are pieces or fragments of bacteria and fungi found circulating in the blood. Okay, there was an operative sentence in this paper. It's what I want you to see before we go to a break. Remarkably, the unifying finding for autistic children and their mothers was the presence in blood of these fragments of philentomous fungus. It seems as though mother is passing fungal fragments onto her child, who then becomes autistic. Are you like me? Are you scratching your head? Just the other day, they found fungus in pancreatic cancer cells. Now we're finding it in autism. What is the relevance? Don't go away. I'll tell you how mom seems to get those fragments. I'll be right back. Hey friends, thank you for sticking with me. This is a little technical, but here's the bottom line. 50 years ago, scientists found fragments of fungus in blood. We don't know what that means. 22 years ago, doctors at Cornell University discovered that a drug called nystatin that sops up those fragments worked pretty well for autistic children. Where are we today? How are mothers ending up passing something, a fungus, to their child? Okay, let's go there right now. How in the world would fungus, capable of injuring human nerves, get into a mother's bloodstream? It was first decided that penicillin was neurotoxic in 1945. By the way, pregnant mothers more and more and more are going on antibiotics. Some safe, some not so safe. So says the scientific literature. They try and keep them on the safe ones. Mothers got a vaginal bacterial infection, so on antibiotics they go. That wasn't done years ago. Okay, go with me on that. Penicillium is the mold, and penicillin is the neurotoxin it makes. Yep, neurotoxin. Autism might be a condition caused by neurotoxic antibiotics that are routinely given to pregnant women, which can then be passed on to an unborn fetus. 80% of drugs prescribed to pregnant women are antibiotics, often for a condition called Group B strep. Okay, are they important? What do OBGYNs say about antibiotic use in their pregnancy? Look at this. This is the International Journal of OBGYN 2013. American physicians prescribe too many antibiotics for the pregnant woman and the fetus in utero. 6 years ago. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. We are screaming. These medical journals that I look at are screaming, use antibiotics judiciously. It's one pediatrician screaming at the others. It's one OBGYN screaming at the others. One internal medicine doctor, stop using all these. Not going to happen. Pregnant women all go to a doctor. While they're in there, it's the flu shot, it's the antibiotics. Okay, so antibiotic overuse in America. Where are we today? In 2013, 80% of Americans were prescribed antibiotics. So says the Center for Disease Control. By 2016, they figured out 33% of prescriptions for antibiotics were unnecessary. And finally, 2019, antibiotics that dentists prescribe are unnecessary 81% of the time. Can I review this? Moms, If you have an autistic child, know that maybe these fragments were passed on to the child, but then you and the child might do well with a drug called nystatin. A doctor generally will give it to you because there's not really any side effects. It's on my website, knowthecause.com. Getting started, pull it down, and it says doctor's fungal protocol, how doctors should prescribe nystatin. Print it off and take it to them. Let's review this, okay? Millions of antibiotic prescriptions are written annually just for pregnant women with group B strep genital infections. Antibiotics can pass through the placental barrier, so says the journal Embryology. Number 3, only about half of 1% of women found to have this group B strep bacteria in their genital areas at 35 to 37 weeks into their pregnancies will go on to deliver a baby who becomes ill from group B strep, a half to 1%, so millions of women get them. All I can tell you is, folks, be an educated consumer. Listen to your doctor, but then say, I've learned that 99% of the time this may not help. Do I need these antibiotics? Always listen to your doctor, okay? I'm just a guy on TV, but I hope now you better understand that. Autism, is it a fungal problem?
Hi, I'm Abby, and today in the kitchen I'm going to show you how to make a very basic veggie stew that I like to have on hand. First things first, we're going to start off with about 2 cups of stock. I'm using chicken stock today. You can use beef stock. You can also use veggie stock if you want to. Just going to pour that right in. And then 1 can of diced tomatoes. Now, we're going to add our veggies. I've got about 2 stalks of celery. All the veggies I went ahead and pre-chopped into about bite-sized pieces. They're all pretty uniform, so they all cook around the same time. We're gonna add in our celery. We got zucchini here. And you can get the full recipe at knowthecause.com. I've got a bell pepper. I used a green bell pepper. You can use a yellow or a red or orange if you want to, or you can use half and half. I do that sometimes too. I've got about half of an onion. And around 2 medium-sized carrots. Next thing I'm gonna add is a parsnip. Now this is a parsnip. It looks a lot like a carrot, except it's white. It does not taste the same. It is very different. So I'm gonna add about half of one of these. I'm gonna go ahead and chop that up for you. You do wanna peel it like a carrot though. So go ahead and just chopping it up into small bite-sized pieces. And parsnips are actually really good sources of potassium. It's really good to get into your diet, extra potassium, especially if you work out a lot. It's a good replacement of electrolytes and stuff like that. And it's just good to have in your diet. Okay. So we've got our parsnips in there. Can't forget 2 cloves of garlic. Already minced up. You gotta have garlic. I mean, it's a necessity now. All right, now for the spices. The thing that I do with my spices is that I just eyeball everything based on how I want it to taste. The basics are gonna start with sea salt, and black pepper. I like using fresh ground because you know that way there's no extra fillers in it or anything like that. You just have the peppercorns. And then I like to add different spices, like I've got paprika here. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. For full recipes and recommended ingredients list, I've got it all on knowthecause.com, so you can go there. I've got chili powder, because I like things kind of spicy. A little more in there. And I'm going ahead and add some turmeric. And just a little bit of this, it does have a very strong flavor, so you don't want to add too much of that. Now, all we're gonna do is just mix everything up. So all those spices get into the broth, and everything gets mixed in. This is gonna come out really nice and juicy. Put the top on, and we're gonna set it on high. And you're gonna let that cook for around 4 hours or until all the veggies are nice and tender but still have a crispiness to it. They're not really mushy. So we'll come back in 4 hours and we'll have a taste. That was an amazing soup. It tastes so good. It's super filling on a nice cold day, or if you just want an extra set of veggies, trying to get those veggies in during the day, it's a great thing to have in your fridge. You can get the full recipe at knowthecause.com for all of the listed ingredients. Again, you can make this as your own if you want to take out some veggies or add some different veggies. It's up to you. You can make this your own soup, and I hope you have a great day.
Welcome, friends. You folks probably know a lot about my background. In the 1980s or 90s, I went to see a man that had been publishing and publishing and publishing that fungus was the cause of everything. I got on an airplane. It was supposed to be in New York. It was moved to Canada. I got on an airplane and flew over there. And he didn't have his books done yet. These weren't done until the late 90s. But I attended one of his conferences. His name was Dr. A.V. Costantini. He and a couple other doctors gave conferences on mycology, fungus. Could all these diseases be linked to fungus? Later, this book came out, and he passed before he ever got done with a lot of these. He wrote breast cancer, atherosclerosis, prostate cancer, etc. But he never got around to this one. He wrote The Fungal Mycotoxin Cause of Alzheimer's Disease. And I remember him talking about this at the conference, I don't know, 92, 93, somewhere way back. Oh no, it would have been before that. I was still in California. It would have been in the mid-80s. And I remember him saying the word Alzheimer's and thinking, you've got to be kidding. Then I worked with a group of doctors here at a big hospital. They brought me from Los Angeles to Dallas, Texas in 1987. A mother and a daughter both had different symptoms, but I helped them both with diet and supplements get better. And the doctors checked it off and said, wow, that's great. They were antifungal supplements. And then the mother said, my dad is in an institution. It's an Alzheimer's institution. It's a good place. It's like a retirement home just for Alzheimer's. They took me over there, and she said, if you could help my daughter with this problem, if you could help me with my problem, could you help Dad? And I said, I don't know. But I remember Dr. Costantini, he's since published it, but I remember Dr. Costantini saying Alzheimer's could be, and I said, what have we got to lose? This was a prominent family, and so the doctor said, what have we got to lose? Give him a little diflucan, change his diet. I met with the dietitian at that time. Wow, it was a long time ago. And lo and behold, he began showing improvement. Okay, that's all setting the stage for what I want to teach you now. Does fungus contribute to or cause Alzheimer's disease? Okay, let's go. Because that's my opening. Does fungus cause Alzheimer's disease? Look at what the European Journal of Clinical and Microbiological Infectious Diseases said 5 years ago. A number of tests have been carried out on the blood of Alzheimer's disease patients, and there is disseminated fungal infections in the majority of Alzheimer's disease patients. 2014. I didn't know that way back then. Folks, sometimes if the doctors will allow you, you've got to go off-brand. You've got to climb that mountain. You've got to say, look, if I have Alzheimer's, if I have dementia, if I have Parkinson's, I want to try antifungals. What have we to lose? Okay? How do scientists give laboratory animals Alzheimer's disease? Why do they give them? Because we have to study new drugs and new procedures with animals. It's cruel to test humans. To study Alzheimer's disease, researchers must induce or cause Alzheimer's symptoms in lab rats. This is done by injecting them with a neurotoxic fungal poison like ibotenic acid, a poisonous mushroom byproduct or mycotoxins. Once again, this was 3 years ago. So you've got 100 rats, you want to study a new drug, you got to give them Alzheimer's. Rats don't get Alzheimer's, so you inject a mycotoxin, a fungal metabolite, into their body over a period of time, and they all get Alzheimer's. Are we injecting those fungal poisons into our body? I'll never forget this study. It was Dr. Pisa, P-I-S-A, out of Spain. She's one of my heroes. I've never spoken with her, but I've tried. Fungus found in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Are you thinking like I am? A Spanish team of medical researchers examined the brain and blood vessels of 21 cadavers. These are people who have passed, investigating their cause of death. In 11, they discovered several fungal species growing in the brains and other tissues, while the other 10 had no fungal growth. As it turns out, the 11 cadavers with fungal growth all died of Alzheimer's disease. None of the remaining 10 died of this disease. Is that a slam dunk, or am I wrong? Folks, your doctor, your neurologist doesn't know about fungus, doesn't know about diet. So we have to help him. Be a guardian angel inside your neurologist's office. You can use Know the Cause references, the books, etc. See if you can get antifungal drugs and can help yourself over neurological illness. I'll be back with more.
I'm shouting! Why aren't you listening to me? Right, so leptin is our master hormone that is released from our fat cells. As fat cells increase, so does leptin. As leptin increases, it signals the hypothalamus in our brain to make us less hungry and speed up our metabolism. Weight goes down, leptin goes back down. It's constantly making adjustments like a plane on autopilot, but when the brain gets inflamed, for whatever reason, like a mold or a fungus, it stops listening to the leptin. Leptin levels keep going higher and higher, but the brain is not listening. This is what is known as leptin resistance, and it's an incredibly common cause of hormone disruption, fatigue, and weight gain. So leptin is shouting, and the brain can't hear. So the brain thinks that leptin levels are actually low. Our weight is going up, but our brain thinks we're starving. So our hypothalamus makes us hungrier and slows our metabolism. Starvation amongst plenty. If you want to know why you're not losing weight, get your leptin levels checked. This is Dr. Greg Emerson, reporting from Know the Cause in Dallas, Texas.
Too confusing? How'd we do today? Thank you so much for joining us, folks, and telling your friends about this show. It's a different viewpoint. I am one who is so tired of hearing when we go to our doctor, we don't know what causes it, but take this pill. I want to understand why my ears started ringing, why my child has autism, why my dad has Alzheimer's. I need to understand why. From a neuro standpoint, a neurology standpoint, what could impede my nerves? What could interfere with synaptic transmission? What could lend to both these diseases? Today we took the A's, autism and Alzheimer's, but there are many neurological diseases. This is the book that I talked about, the Brain Wellness Plan, wherein this Dr. J. Lombard talked about nystatin, a harmless antifungal drug. You got to get a prescription for it if you're in America, found in dirt in a ranch. They make a drug called nystatin, and it zaps fungus from the gut, and that seems to help children with autism, according to this book. What I want you to do is just become, like I have become, what we call a FUPO head, fungus until proven otherwise. Any infection, doctors are supposed to rule out another organism that might cause them, but all doctors hand you an antibiotic immediately. Just be careful out there. God bless you. Thanks for joining me.